Yo, what's up, guys? NBA is back today, so I'm going to be taking you through a bunch of player props that I have on PrizePicks. So let's go ahead. Let's just get into it. The first player prop I have is actually in the NHL. So you can see right here, this tool that I'm using is called the Odds Jam Screen, right? So all it does is for any market you want to look at. So here I'm looking at NHL, shot on goal props, but you can look at whatever you want. It just shows you where every sportsbook is setting the line, right? So all these books set lines independently. So as a sharp bettor, you essentially have dozens of data points. I mean, literally dozens of data points telling you where the line should be set, right? So as an example, if we look at Malkin, all books have his line at 2.5. Here we can see the average odds. So all books have his line at 2.5. There's no major discrepancies in the odds, right? So there's no value in the market. We don't want to touch this play. I say it all the time, but every sports bettor will go through winning streaks, losing streaks. As a sharp bettor, what differentiates you and makes money long term is looking for value in the market, right? You're not betting with your gut. You're not betting with your emotions. 99.9% of sports bettors bet with their gut and emotion, which is why they don't make money. But regardless, here we can see a discrepancy between PrizePicks and Underdog, right? And typically a PrizePicks and Underdog differ. There's some value in the market. These two platforms, PrizePicks and Underdog, they work in basically exactly the same way. They're direct competitors. Their platforms are almost identical. So typically when you can find a discrepancy between PrizePicks and Underdog, there's some good value, right? So what you're going to notice is on PrizePicks, they have Dougie Hamilton's line at 3, right? Underdog is at 3.5. So Underdog is half of a shot on goal higher, right? Whereas for Malkin, there's no value here. Both books have the line at 2.5. No value in the market. We don't want to touch it. Whereas here for Hamilton, PrizePicks has the line at 3. Underdog is higher at 3.5. And then you can see all the sports books are also at 3.5. Right, so PrizePicks at 3, all the books at 3.5. PrizePicks is too low, so we want to take the over. PrizePicks is too low at 3, so we want to take the over. Right, so you can see right here, Bet Rivers, you can look at all the sports books and you can see they have the under 3.5 shot on goal slightly juiced. DraftKings has a replica in Canada, so this is a Canadian sports book, but their odds are just the same as DraftKings. Same with BWin and BetMGM. This is the Canadian version of MGM. But you can see all the books have the line at 3.5. Some books have the under a bit more favored than others. So you can see BetMGM has the under 3.5 shot on goal juiced to minus 145, but FanDuel's less aggressive. They're only at minus 132. Bet Rivers, has basically the same odds for the over and the under. Right, so they're saying he's equally likely, roughly, to go over or under. That's why they're giving you the same odds, roughly, on the over or the under. And then you can see this odds jam column, which is just Pinnacle Sportsbook. So I say this all the time, but we started doing this a long time ago on Odds Jam. We just take Pinnacle odds, and it's the exact same odds for, the Odds Jam column. I'm not sure why we started doing it, but we started doing it. So long story short, you can see Pinnacle, they also have the under favored, but not too much, right? There's not a ton of juice towards the under. Maybe an average of minus 125, minus 130, minus 135. So not a ton of juice towards the under 3.5. So long story short, PrizePicks is too low. Right? PrizePicks has the line at 3. Underdog's telling us, no, this line should be higher. It should be 3.5. All the books are setting the line at 3.5. Some books have the under 3.5 a little more favored than other books. But if you take an average in the market, it's roughly minus 131. So it seems like, PrizePicks is too low. We want to take the over. We found value. Their line is too low, right? Their line is 3 when it should be 3.5. Right, so we found an edge, we found value. And the benefit, right, the way we make money here is if Dougie Hamilton, or the edge, I should say, the advantage we have is if Hamilton has exactly 3 shot on goal, which is a very likely outcome, right, that he has exactly 3 shots on goal. That probably happens 25% of the time. He has exactly 3 shot on goal. We're going to push, right? We're not going to lose on PrizePicks. We're going to tie. We're going to push. Anyone who bets his over on Underdog, his over 3.5, if he has 3 shots, right, they're going to lose. They took over 3.5. If he has 3, they lose. Whereas on PrizePicks, we found value. Their line is half of a shot on goal lower, so we're going to push. Right, we found an edge. We found an advantage. So this is the first play I went with. And again, the way I use the screen, the way I use the Odds Jam screen is I'm looking for discrepancies in where PrizePicks versus Underdog and all the other books are setting the line. Right, so Malkin, all the books have the line at 2.5. Don't touch it, no value. Dougie Hamilton, we found a discrepancy between PrizePicks and Underdog. That's interesting. We want to look into it. Oh, PrizePicks, their line is too low, so we want to take the over. right? We're using all this real-time market data. All sportsbooks, we're looking at their odds, we're looking at where they're setting the line to find value on PrizePicks, right? You use all this data as a sharp bettor to make better betting decisions, right? You use all this real-time market data, whatever you want to call it, sportsbook odds, real-time prices, right? Like I say this all the time, but what's crazy about sports betting, the reason it can be so lucrative and why I love it so much is all these books, they try to set lines independently, which if you think about it is crazy, right? It's like having hundreds of different prices for Bitcoin or something like that. All these books are trying to price the exact same bet and they do it very differently. So the second tool I use is the positive EV tool. So positive EV tool, right? So I use this tool pretty frequently. So the odds screen, you're looking for discrepancies in where sportsbooks are setting the lines. So for Hamilton, 3 versus 3.5 is the discrepancy we found. I didn't find a lot of other value in the market. Tony D'Angelo, all books have his line at 2.5. No major discrepancies in the odds, no value. We don't want to touch it, right? We don't want to touch it. We don't want to touch it. So what the EV tool does, which is slightly different, and that's why I say these are the two main tools I use. So the odds screen is a bit more manual work, right? You're literally scanning through the market, looking for, okay, where are PrizePicks and Underdog different? And you can do this for NHL shot on goal, NBA player assists, MLB strikeouts, whatever, right? I'm mainly just scanning it, being like, okay, where do PrizePicks and Underdog differ? Because oftentimes that's a good spot to look for value, right? So what the EV tool does is different. The EV tool is looking at prices. The EV tool is looking at odds, right? So we can see on the EV tool, the first play it's recommending, according to my settings. So the way this works is you can just, some people are like, ooh, I only bet on baseball or I don't bet on baseball. I want to see all plays. If there's profitable bets in the MLB, I'll have more bets on the MLB. If there's more value in the NBA, I'll have more plays in the NBA, right? I follow the value. Sharp bettors follow the value, right? You don't just bet to bet. Obviously, it's probably more fun to have a bet on, Steph Curry as opposed to some random NHL player you don't know. But the point is as a sharp, you're not waking up and just being like, I want to bet on Curry, right? You're looking through the market. You're hunting for value. You're hunting for an edge. You're like a savvy investor. You're like a day trader. You're looking through the market, the millions of odds across sports books, looking for those few rare betting opportunities where you can find value, right? And again, what makes PrizePicks such an exploitable platform is they don't vary your payouts, right? Depending on you selecting overs or unders, right? So you can see here, any 3-pick entry, any 3-pick power play, you're getting a 5x payout. It doesn't matter if we switch him to an over. It doesn't matter if we change this to Jaden Ivey. Still a 5x payout. Doesn't matter if we change this to an under. So PrizePicks, right, they don't vary your payouts depending on if you select overs or unders. So your goal is, of course, to find plays that are a lot more likely to go over or under, right? You just want all of your picks to be winning at the highest possible rate, right? Like you want your over-unders to be winning at the highest possible rate. Like you want to win your picks at the highest possible rate. It sounds obvious, but the way you do this is by comparing the lines on PrizePicks to the lines on the sports books. So here we can see, basically every sports book is telling us through their odds, right, through the odds they're putting out, that Batherson is a lot more likely to go under as opposed to over. That's why sportsbooks have the under heavily favored, right? Again, we have numerous data points. Every single sportsbook, in my current state, so you can, different books have different locations. So currently I'm in New York. Maybe you're playing on different sports books. So again, different books have different betting opportunities. Sometimes you'll find more value on PrizePicks. Sometimes there's more value on BetRivers or FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever, right? So long story short, all the books have the under heavily favored for Batherson, right? So this is a play where the under is the more likely outcome. So the under is hitting at a rate of, let's say, 55%. So because the under is more likely than the over, this is a great play to include in our PrizePicks slip. Again, all we're optimizing for on PrizePicks, because they don't vary payouts based on you selecting overs or unders, what you want, right, is you want to find spots where sportsbook odds, where the sportsbook odds are telling you, yo, the over's a lot more likely or the under's a lot more likely. And here, sportsbooks are telling you the under's a lot more likely. So if this is confusing, a lot of people will be like, why is the under more likely? How do you know sportsbooks are telling you that the under's more likely? And I'll give you a kind of simple example is tonight you can see the Raptors are minus 952 favorites, right? They're huge favorites, minus 1,000. Bet, on FanDuel, it's minus 1150. You have to bet 1.15 10K, $1,150 to win back 100 by betting on the Raptors money line. So all of the sports books through their odds, right? The fact that, FanDuel is that all the books have the Raptors so heavily favored, the sports books are telling you, yeah, the Raptors are a lot more likely to win this game, right? So it's the same thing here. Obviously, not juiced to minus 1,000, but all the sports books are telling you, yo, this guy's a lot more likely to go under as opposed to over. So this is a great play to include in your PrizePicks entry. So what OddsJam is doing is, it's scanning the tens of thousands of lines on PrizePicks, millions of odds across sportsbooks. So all these lines on PrizePicks, NHL, shot on goal, NBA, whatever, and just pointing out spots where sportsbooks are telling you, yo, an under's a lot more likely or an over's a lot more likely. And in this case, it's Drake Batherson under 2.5 shots on goal. That's the very likely outcome. That's a lot more likely. So if we keep going, we can see, okay, 1.56% profit margin on this. Nerfy in Angels Mariners is the second play I have. All of the sports books. Again, you're never going to get a perfect answer as to what exactly are the odds, but you can see all the sports books, right? They have the under, the Nerfy, the under half of a run in the first inning, the Nerfy, no runs first inning, under half of a total run in the first inning. They're telling you, all the sports books are telling you, yo, the Nerfy's heavily favored. So here you can see a play on Underdog Fantasy. So I say this all the time, but this is why you want numerous platforms, right? If you just have PrizePicks, sign up for Underdog. Or if you just have Underdog, sign up for PrizePicks. Because you're going to see sometimes there's more profitable plays on Underdog, sometimes there's more profitable plays on PrizePicks. And again, these sports books, they set lines independently. So sometimes there's a lot more value on PrizePicks in a day, sometimes there's a lot more value on Underdog. So you want more platforms. More books equals more profitable bets, equals more money in your pocket as a sharp bettor. So then we have the Nerfy in the Angels Mariners game. Another play on Underdog, Dylan Dodd over 3.5 strikeouts. So in this case, all the books have his over 3.5 Ks, his over 3.5 strikeouts heavily favored, right? And again, you're not smarter than the sports books. You're not smarter than their models, right? You have numerous data points. All the sports books are telling you the same thing, right? Granted, Caesars and FanDuel have his over more favored than DraftKings. So FanDuel and Caesars, their models are telling you that Dylan Dodd is more likely to go over 3.5 Ks compared to DraftKings. So you're never going to get a perfect answer as to what exactly, should the odds be on his over versus under. But you don't really need to know that. I mean, you're just hitting the bet in bold, highlighted in green. 1, 2, 3, right? So we have 3 plays from the EV tool now. So you can see here, all the sportsbooks have his over heavily favored. That's telling us Dylan Dodd is a lot more likely to go over 3.5 strikeouts, so this is a play we want to go with. Then we have, another NHL prop, and then another NHL prop. So you're going to see all these plays. Again, I don't bet with my gut. I literally just follow the data. So this is what I, put 400 of my own bucks on. Right here, Drake Batherson, under 2.5 shots on goal. Nerfy in the Angels game. So you saw basically all these plays on the EV tool or on the screen. Dougie Hamilton, over 3.5 shots on goal, right? PrizePicks was at 3. All the books were at 3.5. Carter, over 3.5 shots on goal. Dylan Dodd, over 3.5 Ks. Oliver, under 2.5 shots on goal. Nerfy in Angels Mariners. Drake Batherson, under 2.5 shots on goal. 6 picks to win 10 grand in a flex play. Then I ended up getting a little more conservative, so I played a 5 flex as well. Eric Carlson, over 2.5 shots on goal. And then, 4 of the same picks. So just diversifying a bit. All these plays are profitable. It doesn't matter, if you include them in numerous slips, 1 slip, whatever. It depends. Some people like having more slips open. And, some people just like having 1 big sweat, 1 slip open in a night. And then you can see here, 4 of the same picks. And then Maria under 20 games, and then that's what we got. So I have 3 slips for you. This was the main one, 400 to win 10K. Any questions you have, I'll leave my email in the description, and let's make money.